Lenny, tell us a little bit about the ability to change with the time of day, day versus night. I walk through major metropolitans all the time, and you walk by screens that are way too bright at night and not bright enough during the day. And so a particular challenge in a window environment to be able to accomplish that.
Sure, and that's where key scheduling and the technology come together. So we're able to use light sensors and specific schedules based on time of day and the type of content that's being played on these displays to dim them down or brighten them up depending on real world atmospheric conditions. Having that flexibility allows you to really maximize the content itself and the exposure of it. Because at the end of the day, if the display is too bright, it blows the content out and it's very difficult for folks to see it. If it's too dim, in direct sunlight, such as what these displays are designed for, you don't have the same experience. Content gets washed out. So there's a really fine balance between creating the correct content, scheduling it properly, and playback of it, and how you've integrated that specific display at that location. And on the subject of location, we've ran through hundreds of scenarios. Tom and I, everybody just worked together. We've played out so many different types of placements within the bank, and we cut some back. We've included some new ones, and everything really was designed around the end customer experience, right? Everybody from the street walking through to the customer journey as they enter through the front doors. And although as you're looking at these photos, there's quite a few screens, and you're looking at photos taken with absolutely nobody in the branch, right? It's completely empty. Once you're really inside and immersed in all of it, it is in Times Square. It's very tastefully done. The signage is there to complement the people that are working there and help them communicate that message.
And, this, as I hear Lenny speak, it begs the question of, wow, that's a lot of work, right? You have 2,100 locations and you did all this for 3. And at Bank of America, we take research very seriously. We research everything, and we're very good at it, and we're very good at adapting based on learnings. So the purpose of these 3 locations is really to pick 3 locations, 3 very different cities, different customers, different floor plans where we can apply different technologies. And, we're just starting now to get some learnings back, all positive, of course, but really, looking to use this as the model moving forward. What can we learn? What is the best practice that we can then apply to our renovations and our new store plan?
And each of these 3 locations have personality of their own.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And as do the neighborhoods they work in, right? One Bryant Park, a block off Times Square versus Market, Montgomery, or 100 Fed. Each one of these are unique, but also the way that we work together to design the technology to flow into that with the customer experience, I think also brings a personality that's maybe not there in all 4,800 locations or whatever number it is.
I think architecturally you want to lend to the structure itself, but more importantly, Bank of America was looking for it to be representation of your brand, not take away from your brand. So subtlety, content, scheduling, and then again, customer experience. I know you're not allowed to tell us, but I know the traffic in these branches is insane. And to Tom's point, there's no people in any of these pictures, but they're normally incredibly crowded. So important to keep it fresh and keep changing. You mentioned, again, the playlists in these stores, but you're constantly changing the content in all of the screens. And I think it impacts not only your external customer, but also your internal employees, because you've changed their environment substantially.
Absolutely. Very early on when we opened these centers, we heard from our associates, customers were coming in, just walking off the street and wanting to open accounts just from the experience of these branches. We had a customer at 100 Federal Street in Boston say, this is the type of bank that I want to be with. This is, you understand my needs. You're moving forward. You're evolving with me. And this is, really where I want to bank. And the associates at these locations are just superstars. They're so excited. The content really helps them aid and really, it's no longer a code sell, for example, on a customer. It's really, helping them make that connection.
Yeah, we had heard when we were in New York, and I know that's the next facility we're going to show, that the customers came up to the tellers asking more questions as a result of their dwell time. I'm sorry, I was going to say wait time, but dwell time as they're standing in line, getting up through the process. There's a lot of imagery going around with them that's keeping it fresh. And again, regulatory, a lot of things that you have to can display in this area and not in other areas of the bank. So, everything has to be measured off. I'm sure installing, it was trying to stay with the regulatory of what you can put, the city not allowing you to do certain things. Tell us a little bit about as you came up with that initial floor plan and said, look, this is our path for our customer. Now let's put technology in, not make it overwhelming, and meet everybody's needs. The three of you, I'm sure, went through many hours.
Well, yeah, we went through. This is about a 2-year process, by the way. What you're seeing now are the pictures of this, and it looks gorgeous. But there were a lot of revisions going back and forth, and it had to do with the customer journey. It's fun to work with a customer like Bank of America for Samsung and DMG, because we're in a position where we have a customer who's saying, hey, I'm a retailer. Let's try this. What else do we have? We added a mirror screen at One Bryant Park because it became available, and we said, hey, there's a mirror. Oh, yeah, let's add it. So a lot of things like that become fun. From a diversified DMG perspective, one of the challenges is that I get to work with a highly talented group of people, and a group that runs TJ DeQuello and his team that run the content team work closely with Erica and Erica's entire team that help with the content strategy. I mean, it's you, but it should be a whole team of people.
Me, myself, and I.
Yeah. But we take the content strategy that Erica's developed and researched, and then we drive that out to all the screens as you dictate for us. So there's a level of complexity to here that's probably 5 times or 6 times where we were when we started in 2014.
Absolutely. I mean, when we started, we were happy with one playlist going to all locations, to all screens. If things were deployed on time and came down as they were supposed to, we were pleased with that. And then once we got that under our belts, we just kept increasing the complexity and making it more and more difficult. And, we hear from our customers that they actually now look to the screens for timely information. They know something's different. They know something's unique every time they come and visit. So it's very exciting.
Well, and if you look at this picture on here, at the far corner, in the middle section there, you see just to the left of the glass doors as you're leaving. This is a very unique bank because it's got 4 different entrances that you can enter and exit from the bank. But that's actually a menu of services, which was one of the first times that we tried something like that, Erica.
We had never done wayfinding. We had never used digital in large, complex architectures to really help guide the customer to what is available at that location. So this was a first for us, and it's been very successful, and we're going to continue to do it. Right.
And Greg, to your point about people asking questions of the tellers or other people, when you stand on either side of 2 3x3 video walls, and there's content that pops up about either a credit card special or a mortgage rate or small business retirement planning, all of those are going to start the conversation. And that's really the goal now. I mean, you are experts in financial services, in small business, mortgages, retirement. What else am I missing? I'm probably missing something.
Lending.
And so from that, it's really to get the conversation started and then to drive them back into the other sections of this building.
Well, I remember when we were designing some of these placements, we ran through multiple scenarios, walking paths. We thought about the lighting, we thought about the conditions, everything that would come into play to maximize these placements. And, every time I'd call Tom, and it would be at all hours of the night, and I said, Tom, we just heard from HQ, we got a new display technology. It might be the right fit, it might not. So we played out hundreds of scenarios using different kinds of displays with very unique properties for each one of these placements. And at the end, as Tom mentioned, this is 2 years in the making, really. But at the end, seeing these results, you really truly see all the work that went into it from all 3 sides of this kind of equation here to make an ideal case scenario where content matches the technology, matches the customer experience, and the integration all together.
And it was really about traffic flow, as Lenny was saying. There are certain areas where we want the traffic to move quickly. We don't want long teller lines. As customers, we don't want long teller lines. So how do we drive the customer, that wants to just come in and do a transaction? That's certainly fine. And then there's areas where we want them to dwell and we want them to speak to an associate. So digital signage really helps drive that because, as humans, we're drawn to shiny objects, especially moving shiny objects. So how do you use those screens to control that traffic?
Well, and each one of the screens has unique content playlist and was put there for a specific reason. We've all walked into retailers or other locations where they just threw screens on a wall with no plan for what the content was going to be or why it's even there. It's more of a distraction. Every one of these digital elements that's in here is in here for a specific reason.
And that was part of the challenge, actually, that we put out when we were originally looking for our partner, right? Because some of these displays are very unique. Like the mirror display requires a specific type of content for it to be created. The transparent OLED is the same. Even the high bright displays, you have to take into account the display's properties themselves, because the content and the color tones and being on brand with those colors, all very important elements. And that was a little bit of a challenge, honestly, because I remember we had to get you guys all these displays ahead of time in order for your designers to literally sit there with that end technology right at their desk in order to test these content pieces out.
And our primary colors are red and blue. So red for retail and
right.
Blue for investing. So they're pretty bright colors to begin with. So that was definitely a consideration.
Yeah, and those are not the easiest colors to reproduce either on some of these displays. So you might think red and blue, how complex is that? But the specific color tones, the reflective properties of all these things, and all that comes into play.
We also put in one of the first, I don't know if it's the first, Samsung LED wall. Do you want to talk a little bit about the one at 1 Bryant Park?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, before we move to that, I just wanted to point out this, and then maybe we'll cut to the video so we can see the LED.
Yeah. Okay.
So, right here, the one thing I wanted to point out is the translucent OLED was a unique application here, where we actually used it to showcase the office. So it actually has content specifically showcasing the associate that sits in that office. And to your point about color match, I mean, this is a blue environment. We have static wall graphics. So if we had, the translucent OLED and the double-sided media wall, and it was 3 shades of blue, that wouldn't necessarily be on brand. So there was a lot of color calibration and brightness that went into this location.
Well, and when you look at this, exactly, the color calibration, but this is also a unique one where if we can show the picture up, there's an 82-inch back-to-back wall that's put up, and this is you're seeing one-sided, but it's a double-sided video wall, and that is designed to create a private waiting area for the people there who are for retirement or Merrill Edge consultation. So you've got the tablets there for them to play with while they're waiting, but all of that content in that digital back-to-back wall is actually built just to add privacy for the conversation for people. And so that was actually built, but both 1 Bryant Park and Market New Montgomery continued during the renovation to install all this digital.
I was going to say on the installation, these are iconic facilities, which are some of the more high traffic facilities for Bank of America. And I know in New York, I think was around 24 different executions that were installed. How long did you close the bank to put this in?
So, to Tom's point, Market New Montgomery and 1 Bryant Park, well, actually all our locations are critical, but, Market New Montgomery and 1 Bryant Park, just because of the unique nature of those locations, they remained open for business. So, it's a staged approach in terms of renovation. So that in and of itself provides unique challenges. 100 Fed was a complete down to the studs renovation. It used to be 1 floor horizontally, and then it actually became 2 floors vertically. The other unique challenge at 100 Fed was that you cannot pull up in front of the building, and it was winter in New England. So we had a lot of fun with these 3 locations.
I know in New York, I believe it's a secure facility below,
Absolutely.
And even getting cabling and signal to the displays was a challenge because you can't tap into a vault, run some cables through, and drill back up through the floor. So, but it's beautiful. There's no cables showing anywhere. And I know, Tom, you mentioned some very late hours. Installation starts when the bank closes.
Right, and trying to get deliveries into Manhattan at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock at night is always interesting to start with. But we drilled through 3.5 feet of solid concrete at 1 Bryant Park, and then figured out, that won't work. There were lots of
drill bits.
Yeah, there's lots of things that you learn when you go to do these installs. But the end result come out really well. And again, I think it shows the personality of where the bank is and how it ties into the neighborhood, and more specifically, the individual customer you're talking about. Because when we talk about custom playlists and content, not all customers are the same. If you're in downtown San Francisco or downtown Boston or New York, it's vastly different. And it's not just the baseball team that you're rooting for. It's how you approach the customer. You and I had that conversation about when you get closer to from 100 Fed out to Cambridge. It really changes the demographics, but also how you want to engage with the customer.
Absolutely. And, the technology, certainly it's a vehicle for that content to make that connection, but it's also the applications. They need to appear seamless. I hope what you took away from this video and from the pictures is none of it seems forced. None of it seems like an afterthought. It's fully integrated and immersive into the experience. So customers truly, although it's a high-tech solution, they truly feel connected to the space and to our associates.
I also think that when you watch the customer come in and you go to other competing banks in the area, everybody's on their phone. You walk into here and they're not looking at their phone, they're looking around. There's so much going on and so much added to that environment by the technology and by the content strategy that it really engages people immediately.
I'd say these were 3 very unique and very complex deployments, and that kind of speaks to the partnership you see on stage here. We didn't pick a branch located in some sleepy town and to test out some of our technologies and experiences. And these are high-end, high-traffic locations that are some of the busiest that the bank has.
And truthfully, we wanted to stress the system. We have those community
You were successful.
locations.
You were successful. There's many people from Diversified out there who were stressed by this. Yes, that worked.
We wanted to pick locations that were difficult, because if we succeed in these locations, then it's an easier application for us moving forward across the franchise.
Well, but we're doing content for the first time. I mean, it's the first time we've done a huge LED wall. It's 22 feet by 15 feet tall, 22 feet wide. I mean, it's 2 millimeter. It's gorgeous wall, and it's the first time we're going to do that. And, oh, by the way, the chairman of the bank is in the building today, so he's going to walk by and see everything. But no pressure.
He sits upstairs.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, these are the locations that we have lots of presence at, lots of customers, but also lots of senior bank people. And I think every member of the senior staff, the board of directors have been through here. I mean, everybody from the bank has come to see what we've created as a team.
And we're excited to do more research and do it more.
We're excited to work with you on the other 4,500 branches, and how exciting it is for us to have the opportunity. So thank you, Bank of America and Erica, for coming and having a chat with us today and sharing your experience. But very happy to have you as a client. Excited to work with you. And Tom, as always, Diversified's a great partner. Couldn't do it without you. Lenny, thanks for all of your technical expertise. And thank you for listening to our little story today. And we continue to push forward and visualize your future on Samsung and work with Bank of America and helping them realize that innovation in banking.